Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Serious local sports journalism here with Corey Tackman, myself, CJ Baumgartner, and our guy Zeke, who's joining in today because we are going to be drafting our top moments of the 2024-25 broadcast, just kind of athletic season, if you will. So we are going to be doing that in just a second, Corey. But why don't we get this out of the way with talking a little bit about the good folks at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade who make the Morning Sports Desk possible each and every day.
Make the Morning Sports Desk possible each and every single day, and make lunch and dinner possible every single day, especially if you're a family who's participating in summer rec activities. If you're hungry for food and fun after a busy day of summer rec, check out the Wadena Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in downtown Wadena. You can cool off with a slice or two of delicious pizza, then head into the Fun Zone for games and prizes and laughs. Oh, by the way, Tuesdays, kids 10 and under eat free with the paying adult at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. You mentioned, CJ, by the way, that's all I have to say about Pizza Ranch. I just wanted to make the point. You mentioned serious sports journalism.
Yes.
I learned today that epithets are not actionable, so I can call anybody I want a big old jerk, and there's nothing they can do about it. So when we get to the Twins conversation later, I'm coming in hot and heavy.
You know what? Corey's not going to hold back. He's just going to say it. That guy's a real jerk.
Someone's got to hold them accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Accountability. Demand better. Anyway. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's take this whole year into account, if we will. Let's go back all the way from August to literally like a week and a half ago to when our broadcast season ended for the 2024-25 high school sports athletic broadcast season. We are drafting our moments like we did at the end of the fall sports season. We talked about some of our favorite moments throughout that period. Well, we're going to expand it now to the whole season, the whole school year. There's a lot of great moments that happened in the fall that I'm sure will pop up again. But I think I had the number one overall pick last time. I think that sounds right. We are going to snake draft this thing. I think it's only right that Zeke, as our guest today, gets the number one overall pick in the Morning Sports Desk 2024-25 athletic season draft. Congratulations on the number one overall pick, Zeke. Just tell us what kind of goes into your thought process, when you're getting ready for the pick. Do you think of trading down? Like, what's kind of going through your mind?
Well, seeing as how I found out I had the number one overall pick like 30 seconds ago, I'm fielding trade offers for my superstar guard. If any large market teams want to give me nuts and bolts for him, I can. Since I'm getting Cooper Flagg, anybody who wants Luka Doncic can have him. So backroom deal.
Yeah, backroom deal. That's hey, look at the defensive presence your team will have now, though. With these picks.
That's right. If they can stay healthy, that's the big thing.
All right, Zeke. I'm sure this is an easy decision for you. A lot of great moments in Cardinal Nation this year. Do they pop up as this year's number one overall pick?
Yes, they do.
All right.
I think when we did this back in December, my number one pick was the Staples Motley football game against Barnesville, double overtime to head on down to US Bank Stadium. That one was close if it wouldn't have been for the Staples Motley Cardinal wrestling team. And as good as they were at state, the match of the playoffs was that night in Holdingford when they held off the Huskies. Final score 30-28. Cardinals had a 30-12 lead. The Huskies won 6 of the next 7 matches. Came down to the heavyweight. Basically, the Cardinals just couldn't get pinned. And they didn't. They advanced to state. I think Holdingford ended on the guillotine rankings, the number 3 team in the state, despite losing to Staples Motley in the section championship. Cardinals rolled through state, winning their first title in a long time. But just like that Barnesville game wasn't the one wasn't the state championship game. I mean, you look at the Miracle on Ice, when they beat the Russians, I mean, that wasn't the championship. That wasn't the gold medal game. Sometimes the matches and the matchups before the championship game are the ones that stand out. Barnesville is one of those, and absolutely Holdingford in the section championship is one of those also.
Yeah, exactly. And just so you know, you're comparing the Staples Motley wrestling team to the Miracle on Ice team.
I know what I did. There was a lot of thought that went into that. Yes, I'm fully aware of what I did.
All right. Well, it's the safe pick with the number 1 overall spot. It's a good pick. Obviously, that team was about as dominant as any wrestling team that we've seen in recent memory. So that certainly gets the number 1 overall spot. Let's go from right to left on the screens. Corey, number 2 overall pick. Well, who's number 1 on your big board?
Well, I'm going to actually stay in the same season as Zeke did with his number 1 overall pick and go to just my personal and professional highlight, maybe of my career, let alone this year. And that was our broadcast from the Unified Special Olympics State Basketball Tournament covering Monaga. We've talked about it plenty of times. I don't need to go into too much detail other than how cool it was. And I think to reiterate that not only was it our first radio broadcast ever from the state tournament, it was the very first radio broadcast ever from the Unified Special Olympics State Basketball Tournament. And to be a part of that, not only for us professionally and the radio station, but to be a part of that from the Monaga experience. We've got the autographed basketball in the back room on the the twin shelf. It's now the twin shelf and Monaga Unified State Basketball shelf. To be a part of that for those kids and for that school and for those families, and to just experience it in general was really a pretty special moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a cool moment to get to put together and to see you guys get to go down and do. Super, super awesome. Zeke, I know you were there as well. Just piggybacking on that, how special of a moment was that?
It was awesome. I wasn't sure what to expect going down there. I just knew that we're going to get some basketball, and just the thing that stands out to me was the camaraderie and everyone cheering for everyone. I know, I forget the game that was before the Monaga game, but the cheerleaders were there. The mascot was there. It was a huge deal. And for us to be the first radio broadcast partner of the Unified Basketball Tournament State Championship, I mean, and forever long it's been going is ludicrous to me that this has not been done yet. And for us to be the first ones is very special. And I'm assuming, Corey, that we'll be back as many times as Monaga goes back down there.
I don't know why it just has to be on the calendar every single year. If we've got a team in the area going, we need to be there too.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it was Monaga, it was Pillager and Bemidji all down there at that tournament last year.
Correct. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's just an awesome, really, really cool moment to get to be a part of and to get to do all that, which is great. You guys both had really great first picks, your first rounders, obviously going really well. I'm going to blend a little bit of each of moments from your first 2 selections into my own. For Corey, you talk about one that's kind of also just for your own career and things that you like, things that you've wanted to do. And then Zeke, obviously, with covering with a state champion, that's also a Cardinal, adding on to this list. For my number 1 moment, I had state championship Saturday of the boys basketball tournament, not just because I got to do coverage for Cool in Alexandria for the Alexandria Cardinals and the Mankato East game, which was just a really fun back and forth basketball game. Alexandria wins their first state championship in school history in that matchup for boys basketball. But it wasn't just that. It was the game before where at 8, bright and early, 8 in the morning, we got up and we were at Concordia St. Paul for the 5th place game between Heritage Christian Academy and Henning. And for the Hornets to be able to come away with 5th place, winning 2 games out of 3 in the state tournament, just getting to encapsulate a run where, again, uncle's the head coach, cousins on that team, and all the sort of things. My wife is from that town, and just to have a lot of that, to get to be and cover that run and be a part of it was really fun. And then you get to cap it all off by calling just an electric state championship game where you're calling a Clemson commit and a couple other great basketball players who are going on to the next level as well for Alexandria. It was just a really fun day of basketball, and to get to call a state championship and have the team that you're calling come out win It's a really, really cool feeling, and also getting to do it at the barn, which is awesome as well.
Yeah, I get often jealous of you guys because having grown up here, you get to call and see family members and your alma mater and kind of get to be a part of that in the mix. I had one opportunity a couple of years ago, Wadena Deer Creek baseball in the state tournament in a consolation semi. Played Sibley East, my alma mater, in that semifinal. It happened once. It was just a super cool experience to be able to. Like one of the kids on the team, he was the son of a guy I graduated with, a buddy of mine from high school. That you guys get to see that on a regular occasion, I think is very cool. And then in a special moment, CJ, for you to be at a state tournament and have, you just spent Thanksgiving with them and you're getting ready to spend Christmas with them. And there he is heaving up 50 footers at the buzzer. It's pretty cool.
That, by the way, I got to do a couple calls that I found really fun. Misa got us just chucked a half-court shot of the buzzer that went in at halftime, which was fun. And then secondly, I got to use the words "en fuego" in a broadcast, which I also really enjoyed. When you have that opportunity, you just have to do it, All right. So looking at we're going to snake this. So going back the other way, I'm going to do my pick. I'm going to do one that's got a little bit of recency bias, but just still an all-time great game that we are going to talk about for years and years, just kind of with the aura surrounding it as well. And that's Parker's Prairie versus Red Lake County in state semifinal baseball. It was a one where it went over 5 hours from first pitch to the final out, 2 different venues, extra innings, and out of all of the madness of the rain and moving locations and everything about that, it was just a great baseball game for a trip to the state tournament. And just a really fun back and forth baseball game. Even though it didn't go the way for Parker's Prairie, that was just a really fun game and a really fun story. And everybody who was even paying attention to the game was talking to me the last week, like, "Oh my gosh, how was that? Like, that was a weird day, huh?" Like it's just a really, there's just got a legend behind it. And obviously Red Lake County goes on to win the state championship in that. But for Parker's Prairie, even though they didn't win the game, that's still just an all-time great baseball game that should be remembered for a long time.
Yeah, it goes down in lore. There's not many baseball games that last that long over the course of 2 separate locations.
In a state semifinal game.
For a trip to the championship on the line. The guys, the guy in Alexandria got called 45 minutes before the game time. Basically, like, can we use your field? He was getting ready to hop in the boat to go fishing for the afternoon and evening. Just if you want, just weird. CJ and I, we talked about it that next, the next day or whatever. Weird was the only word we could use to describe that entire experience for just about everybody involved. There was a lot of things that had to come together to make it weird. And holy moly, was it ever?
Mm-hmm. All right, Corey, your pick. What's up? What do you got?
I got to go all the way back to the fall season and Sabika State volleyball. There is just something about being able to jump on the back of a team early. I saw them 3 times maybe during the regular season, and then knowing how they were seeded and how the sections were going to work out, we start to eye up our paths pretty early come playoff time, knowing that Sabika was going to make a run. So to cover 3 times during the season, then an entire section run into the state tournament run, you learn a little bit about a team when you get to cover them that often, even if it's not like hyper specific details like, oh, well, this person's got a whatever their GPA is. Like, you learn how they play, you learn their moments, you learn in the volleyball court, what they excel at, what they don't excel at. And it helps the broadcast along. I think just, from our perspective, a look behind the curtain, you get those moments where you can just make a call about the team because you understand the team a little differently. And, to be able to jump on the back of the Sabika Trojans into that state tournament run and be a part of that at the XL Energy Center, state volleyball, all-time great state tournament. I will forever enjoy my trips to state volleyball, no matter what the outcome is. And it was a tough go at state for Sabika, but that experience of covering them basically from match one of the season to match whatever end of the season it was, to be a part of that ride is pretty cool.
Yeah, super awesome. State volleyball is great. Congrats to the Topeka Trojans. Zeke, you're up, swinging all the way back around to you. You get 2 picks in a row. What are you going with?
Would it be weird if I went back to the Staples Motley Cardinal on this one?
Not for you, no.
Okay, because they've had a fantastic run. Every time you go through Highway 10, you see the number on the side there across from the Veterans Memorial Park there on the intersection of 10 and 210. Like every time I drive through Staples, that number changes. You know, every single time. They got the big one for the team, which is 32 right now after the wrestling team change it from 31. And then inside you've got the smaller number for individual state championships. And that number just it's like the odometer going. Thanks in large part to Audrey Burnell, who has just been cranking through that. 2 more individual state titles for Audrey this year. She was state champion for state cross country back in November, and at state track a couple weeks ago, defending her title as the 1600 meter champion. She's got the 4x8 title, the 4x8 relay. She has 2 mile championships at state track. She's a champion in the 800. She's a state cross country champion, and she just missed winning the 2 mile by less than half a second at state track at St. Michael Albertville a couple of weeks ago. And so she's looking to become the first winner of the 4x8, the 800, the 1600, the 5K, and the 2 mile. And she just missed it. She'll be back for her senior year next year, and that number is just going to keep churning. Beachy won the pole vault, broke his dad's or won another pole vault. His dad won the pole vault. Turner broke his dad's school record and then won the state championship in the pole vault. So another fantastic track season for Staples Modley.
If my counting is correct there, Zeke, did you mention 7 titles for Audrey? 7 state championships for her?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now.
5 with a senior year coming, which means nothing is obviously guaranteed, but the potential for Audrey to hold 1/10 of all the individual championships in this school's history is an insane number.
Yeah. She could realistically graduate with 8 state titles if she wins cross country again next year, which she'll be the number 1 runner in Class A, hands down, her senior year. If she comes back for the mile, and the 2 mile is the one that she really, really wants bad. So she could do both of those next spring also. So she could finish with 8, which is unheard of at any level.
Unheard of.
Insane. All right, Zeke, you got one more pick here in the official draft. Who are you making sure is draftable before we start to move to the undrafted free agents?
I'm gonna take the Frazee Baseballs team run through the section tournament. They finished 10-10 on the year. They had a 9-game losing streak heading into the playoffs. They're the 5 seed, and I think back in 1924, Babe Ruth said of the Washington Senators, they got hotter than any team I've ever seen in my life. And that's what happened to the Frazee Hornets. They made their first state tournament since 1999, beating Walker Hackensack Akeley. Then they outlast the top seed in their half of the bracket, New York Mills, 1-0 in 8 innings. They come back and beat Sabika, the number 2 seed on that half. They scored 2 runs, top of the 7th, to win 4-3. They take on Ogilvie, who I think was the number 1 seed on the other side of the bracket, beat Ogilvie 8-3, set up a rematch with Sabika in the section championship, and they beat them 10-4. And just the way that team came together and just ripped through those playoffs, lost to Parker's Prairie, the number 1 seed in the state tournament, 4-1. And then unfortunately the rest of the run cut off due to rain, where they only had the championships. And I don't know. I can go on the soapbox forever how it's not fair to those boys in that community, how they only got 1 1/3 state championship game. We'll save that conversation for another day. But man, Frazee baseball, they gave it everything they had for their team, for their coaches, for their community, and making state for the first time since 1999.
Yeah, I mean, the incredible thing, I talked to Coach McCallson before the state quarterfinal game, and I said, like, was there a moment where you could, like, encapsulate, like, hey, we are going to make a state tournament? Were you, like, you know, was there a moment in the regular season where you, like, we could do it? And he said, I'll be honest, we didn't really think that was a possibility until we beat Mills. And then we realized, like, okay, like, we got to still win some games, but we have just as good a shot as anybody now that we've gotten through the 1 seed. We're still in the winner's bracket at this point. Like, that's when they were like, we could do this thing. So to see it all come together late, just a really, really fun run. And obviously it's kind of a what if. I know they had a little bit of bumps and bruises on their team that impacted them when they got to the state tournament. You know, they played a really great quarterfinal game against Parker's Prairie, ran as tough against them as a lot of teams did against the Panthers this season. So it was a really fun run for Frazee baseball and really, really cool there. All right, Corey.
Yeah, Parker's had beat him 13-1 back on May 8th as a part of that losing streak, and then they only lost 4-1 in the state tournament. So huge turnaround there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Corey, what do you got?
I'll jump on the soapbox really quick. Frazee got screwed, and it is a shame that there's not some contingency plans in place to deal with weather in June in Minnesota. They got screwed over, and I feel terrible for them. There we go. That's just a mini short box. How's that?
Perfect. There you go.
My final draft pick has it's sports adjacent, and I hope you guys are okay with this. And I know you are because you were both a part of this experience. I would like to. I
don't know how okay with it I am, but we'll see.
I would like to commemorate, if I may, the road trip that was the bookend to the Prep Bowl. Our road trip down to Minneapolis included a wheel falling off our car, the station vehicle.
Don't forget us all hopping into the tow truck together, too.
Leading us to be towed to Big Lake with 4 of us in the cab of that tow truck across the front. Dropping our station vehicle off at a auto body shop for them to give us a vehicle to get to the Prep Bowl, to call the game, to come back in the night in the cover of darkness to do a switch with our vehicle, and then being pulled over for suspected grand theft auto. Just, I mean, the game in and of itself, like, just awesome to be a part of it. I don't know that I would think back so fondly on that experience if it weren't for our wheel falling off and then being pulled over for suspected grand theft auto. Was just the cherry on top of the unbelievable ice cream sundae coverage of football, if you know what I mean.
For what it's worth, I have not been back in Jeep Whitley since that night. I have not.
And we've not gotten a potential of getting arrested since. I'm not. Correlation doesn't always equal causation, but
there are some things that I think back to, and like I think about CJ getting pulled out of the vehicle to be questioned. I think about you pulling the camera gimbal or whatever it is out of the center console, but it kind of looks like a gun just to show them that you don't have a gun. I think about
officer.
I think about you driving 55 and a 65 the whole way home because
we're not getting any more suspicions here. We're staying it safe.
Listen, epithets are not actionable. I can say whatever I want. It was so. I only didn't take this as my number 1 overall pick because I didn't have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So I wanted to save it to last to be able to spend as much time on this as possible. That was so damn funny. There's nothing else that if something else tops it, it will include CJ actually being arrested.
And that's not happened yet. Until that does. My favorite, the gut instinct as soon as we were getting pulled over, I was just trying to go through like, well, what could happen? Do we have the lights out? Did I miss a red light? I don't drive in this part of the world very often. Did I miss something? And then I think I said right as the cop got to our window, I'm like, do they think we stole this car? And of course, by the way, if anybody wants to ask us this story, start with the question, hey guys, did you have insurance information in the car so you could prove ownership?
We did not.
We had a text message from a random number that maybe kind of halfway proved that we had a relationship with that
and an invoice.
and
they turn and they're like, how easy is this to fake? Like, that was question number one they had, like, out loud. They're like, it's just because
shout out Bush Auto in Big Lake for hooking us up. Shout out Tyler Grunwald for being by himself like an hour before kickoff, wondering if the other three guys from his broadcast team.
Also, shout out to him for getting the story out. Just by the time we got to the Staples gym, everybody was asking us what.
And shout out Becker football, because that gave us something to talk about with the other cops while CJ was out of the vehicle getting questioned. Zeke about Becker State Championship.
They're just like, hey man, cool football game. Becker State champs again. Let's go. Meanwhile, I'm getting pepper sprayed like in the background, and
Zeke and I just giggling in the Jeep, waiting for. All right, when are they going to let him back so we can go get to the welcome home party?
The only downside was that we didn't get Hardee's hot ham and cheeses. We got Arby's hot ham and cheeses, which were close, but not the same. So. All right. Well, yeah, that's certainly there. And also, by the way, it was the our friend over in Brainerd, Bill Satry, getting us the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas cover with our faces photoshopped onto that. Also, great moment. I still have that picture.
I do too.
Because it's great. He was really quick on that. And it's also great when you get an email from your HR reps going like, hey guys, somebody had a recent run-in with law enforcement. So just here's a few things to make sure.
TJ, I got phone calls from Matt. Dan Seaman called me. I got phone calls from some people wondering what the hell happened.
All right. There's no way to end this with anything better than that. So I'm just going to do it with my own personal part of it, which, again, something that was really personally fun was to call Bertha Hewitt girls basketball when they made a run to the section semifinal game where they lost to Walker Hackensack Akeley, who ended up winning, going to state, and of course with Coach Leaning getting to go there, and obviously with his passing away last week. So like there's just a lot in that game that was fun, but overall just from the personally getting to witness a team go back to back, and those Morrison girls are really, really great for Walker Hackensack Akeley. That was fun. But just again, personally, was getting to see my alma mater go tie the furthest that they've ever gone in girls basketball in a season, because they had some great squads, but they always ran up against Sabika, who also had really good teams at that time. So it was just really fun to get to do that and to again just be a part of that as well, which was really, really fun. All right, guys, some honorable mentions. I'm just gonna just rapid fire a couple honorable mentions. I had obviously the state championship game is on there. That kind of gets swept up in the Grand Theft Auto thing, but that whole thing. But also Wadena Deer Creek versus Holly, Section 8AA semifinal volleyball game, 5-set. Wadena Deer Creek almost was able to come back and win it in 5 against the eventual state champions. And again, I didn't see every Holly match in the state tournament, but I think that was probably the toughest task Holly had all postseason long, was that 5-setter against Wadena Deer Creek. Those two teams played a month before, and Holly wiped the floor with them. The Wolverines came to play that night, and it ended up being the final volleyball match for a legendary career in Coach Volkman. So talk about leaving it all out on the line in Moorhead in that matchup. That's my honorable mention.
I didn't have any. Zeke?
Staples Motley football versus Barnesville double overtime. Another honorable mention I had, kind of working out a little bit more, is the dominance of Detroit Lakes golf right now, winning the championship for both the boys and the girls. They were in 3A last year. Boys took second in 3A. Girls won 3A last year. With the realignment, they dropped back down. That girls program is dominant as we've ever seen it. I mean, when you talk about a program that had Kate Smith, who's on the LPGA tour right now, won 5 consecutive state championships, and now they don't have that Kate. They don't have that Kate Smith. Yeah. Friend of MSD, Kate Smith. But now you've got Sydney Miller, who just graduated. She's been on that team since she was an 8th grader. And then a really young core with Sophie Christensen. She took 4th place at state. You've got junior Tatum Gathridge. You've got sophomore JC Slipper, who have been starting on varsity since they were 7th graders. And then the boys team is young also. Brock Burhans took 3rd place at state. He's a junior. He'll be back for his senior year. A couple of freshmen, and Sully Broughton and Tyson Eckhoff finishing in the top 15. I mean, DL Golf is back, and it's dominant, and Class 2A better buckle up because the Lakers are going to be here for a long time.
All right. Awesome. Perfect. We got a couple of state sports things that we want to get off our chest really quick. This came out late Monday night. The Twins were losing 7-0 to the Seattle Mariners, losing on their way to lose their 4th in a row since June 4th. After that point, the Twins have only won 3 games. So it's been a pretty rough 3-week stretch for these old Minnesota Twins, but here's the headline that's going to make everybody feel better in the Twins fan base and the people who are upset at the team. Rocco Baldelli, his option for 2026 has been picked up. Derek Falvey announced that Monday night at Target Field. And I think that was probably just in a media scrum before the game or during the game or whatever. But by the time it got published, it was in the middle of the Twins losing 7-0 to the Mariners on their way to losing 4 in a row. And again, just a lot to take in there. There's a lot of people in the fan base who expect Baldelli's head on a platter any day now. And according to the Twins management, that doesn't appear to be happening anytime soon. How do we feel about that? Good, bad? Is it otherwise? What do we think? We'll start with you, Zeke.
I think it's a way to save face right now so that we stop talking about the Rocco Baldelli situation. I mean, is it a weird time to do it? Yes. Is it going to look really, 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 really bad when they end up firing him in the middle of July? Yeah, absolutely it will. And that could still be on the table if the Twins still keep playing like they have been. The stat that I think you sent us, CJ, is in the month of June, the Twins are like 5th in runs scored and 30th in runs allowed. And that is
really bad
for a team that was in the wild card race. After starting the season as awful as they did, they won 12 in a row. They were a couple games out of first place. The Tigers are playing out of their mind right now. So the division basically out of the question. I don't even know how far back the Twins are. It was double-digit deficit in games last I looked. And for them to be awful, to give that fan base hope, and then just fall flat on their face with Byron Buxton, who's the best center and fielder in baseball right now. He's healthy, he's killing it, but everybody else around him is just not playing good baseball right now. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a Twins fan right now because they are good at literally nothing. There's nothing positive in Twins baseball right now outside of Byron.
And remember, Twins pitching was supposed to be the thing that they were going to hang their hat on, was the pitching depth and the starting depth that they had. And all it took was Pablo Lopez getting injured, and they're all of a sudden the worst starting rotation in baseball, which is insane. Corey, what's your piece?
Well, there are a couple things. One is that it's funny that it kind of seems like the agreement, the extension was, I've seen it as vaguely put as it happened somewhere between April and when it was announced on Monday.
Right. They don't have to disclose that like right away. They just.
So I'm fascinated by that. But also I think the big picture on all of this is that this is a team organizationally that's in the middle of the ocean in a life raft with no sense of which way is north, south, east, or west. That we don't know who the owners are. We don't know who's in charge. They're not going to do anything by the trade deadline. If they do, it will be to dump a player and not trade for
2 or 3 or 4. Yeah, we could see 4 guys gone.
For a bottom of the barrel reliever who you can DFA at any point.
Extending Rocco is just you have to, I mean, if you're I don't even know what the right comparison is. Like you still have, if your bike tire's flat, you still have to walk it to the gas station to fill it up with air. You know what I mean? Like extending Rocco is walking the bike to the gas station. Like if the new owners are on by the end of July, Rocco's probably not the manager come August 1st. And I don't know what's right or wrong in this situation, but this is a mess. It's just an absolute mess. I can't even tell you anymore if Rocco is a good manager or not, because His players aren't performing very well, and guys aren't staying healthy, and there's no one at the top to like set the standard for what needs to be. Okay, the Twins are not really like necessarily last in anything in Major League Baseball, like as far as major statistics go.
In terms of the whole season, yeah.
In terms of the whole season. But what they are is the worst team amongst teams who allegedly still give a crap. Everybody who's below them statistically are teams that are the White Sox, the A's, the Rockies, the Marlins,
Pirates,
Pittsburgh. Like, it's teams who are unapologetically flushing the turd down the toilet. The Twins allegedly are not doing that, and they're last of all of those teams who are not trying to suck.
Yeah, and here's my thing, and it's kind of a little bit of what you guys had to say. I think obviously the fan base is going to be mad about this, but it's basically they're like Baldelli. And again, who knows when this announcement was made, when the team told Baldelli they were picking up his option. It probably was before the season, because if you've seen the movie Moneyball, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, who's playing Artie Howe, the manager, says, we don't like the cloud of a 1-year contract hanging over our heads. And it was probably just at the beginning of the year, hey, Rocco, you're picked up through next season. Don't worry. Like, you'll have like a contract through the end of next year, and we'll figure it out later. Like, and at least to get through the ownership change, most likely. And that's pretty much what this is. And that the team is just stuck. They are waiting until new ownership takes over. And this is clearly a franchise that was hoping for this to have been done for a long time ago. The Twins were trying to wed Justin Ishbia for the longest time to buy the team. And then at the very last second, the rug was pulled out from underneath them, and the Twins had to start back at scratch. And the Twins wanted to be bought for $1.7 billion, not $1.5, not anything less. Now the Tampa Bay Rays have been sold for $1.7 billion. So the Pohlads are not moving off that 1.7 number. The Rays are a team without a stadium, and they got somebody to pay 1.7 for them. There is no way the Twins are accepting anything less than 1.7 at this point going forward. That's just the starting number at this point. And they could want more. I don't know. But like, who knows? The whole point of this is to say, if you're a Twins fan and you're expecting Rocco Baldelli to be fired, the current ownership is not going to greenlight firing a manager in June, and because they are still going to have to pay the manager through next season. They don't want to do that. They're trying to pinch pennies to sell. They're not going to change Derek Falvey, who's probably more at fault of this team than Rocco Baldelli is right now in terms of their flaws. But you start with the manager. And here's the other thing. Out of all of this to say, Rocco Baldelli could still be fired in like a week. I mean, if you remember earlier in the season, the GM of the Baltimore Orioles said they have great confidence in manager Brandon Hyde before they fired manager Brandon Hyde. So a lot of this is like they have to go out there and say, we believe in Rocco. We have faith in Rocco. We've extended him for next season. That's how much faith we have in him. When it, like you said, Zeke, they could still fire him in July. Like, that's still, both options are still on the table. This is just Baldelli has a contract through next season, but I mean, that's going to happen anyways. If you're a new owner, you're going to fire people anyways. Why would you want the old ownership group to fire and rehire a manager that you're going to have to fire again? Like, as the Pohlads, they're trying to keep the books as simple as possible for when this team changes hands.
They're a rudderless ship. So at least they have a guy, if nobody's listening to them, they at least have a guy who's telling everybody to row.
Right.
That's all. But it's rudderless. They're just spinning in circles. They suck. It's a pretty depressing team to root for right now.
Yeah, not great. Let's talk about a team in the Minnesota Timberwolves who were really fun to root for most of this season. Obviously, Oklahoma City wins the NBA title, which is just great. I'm having such a fun time.
Boo.
The foul baiting get rewarded, then also seeing them foul every possession. That was great.
But that's not actionable. They're smelly.
That is true. There is reports of them smelling really bad. I can tell you certified facts, which is the state of Oklahoma is like 45th in education. So glad. So enjoy the title if you can read it. I don't know.
It's so annoying that they're good and that they're going to trade all of those picks to get Cooper Flagg and be even better for longer.
It's also dumb that they were doing the underdog gimmick when they were a 68-win team.
They're the best team from the beginning to the end of the year, and they're playing the underdogs. It's like, come on.
Also, their franchise started, I know they were in Seattle, but they started in Oklahoma in 2008. It took them, took them 18 years to win a title. Cool, man. And by the way, they've made a finals appearance in that span. They've had 3 different MVPs on that team. And you want me to sit here and feel good for the Oklahoma City Thunder? No, I do experience a decade of David Kahn and Kurt Rambis and all of this stuff. The only thing that I take solace in is that likely the transition from Glenn Taylor to Lorian Rodriguez will become officially official this week.
I think it has. The Taylors said their goodbyes yesterday on social media.
I think they took out a big ad in the Strib, and
they're out.
Yeah, they are. I think it's got to become officially like approved by the governor stuff. But the way, like Glenn Taylor's already.
Do you think they actually had to take out an ad?
No, I think he just went to his sports editor and said, "Put this in there today." It helps when you own the paper. My favorite Glenn Taylor moment, one of my favorite moments from him owning the Wolves, was when I think it was like the Jimmy Butler fiasco was happening, and it was the Star Tribune wrote something. I don't know who wrote it for the Strib, but it was Glenn Taylor, in parentheses, who owns the Star Tribune, was unable to be reached for comment. Like the Timberwolves owner, who also is my boss, I can't reach him. Mm-hmm. He has nothing to say. He's gone. But at least he went to the dang lasagna dinner. All right. The draft Wednesday night tonight. Here we go. Timberwolves have the 17th and 31st picks, I believe, or somewhere 30, somewhere in there. And then overall, the trade for Kevin Durant didn't go through, but the Wolves do have now that Detroit pick in the draft. They have a little bit of ammunition. Draft day trades don't necessarily happen in the NBA because it's not like the NFL where you can't trade a guy once you've picked him. Like you can do like the Wolves drafted Walker Kessler and then traded him for Rudy Gobert like a week later. So it doesn't necessarily mean something's going to happen tonight. But in terms of the Wolves, I think we could pretty much just look at the biggest needs are, assuming Naz Reid comes back, assuming Nickeil Alexander-Walker leaves, it's got to be just getting a point guard, right?
100%. If Danny Wolf is not a Timberwolf at this time tomorrow, we riot because A, he has the best name for a Timberwolves player. And
the branding writes itself.
Exactly. The number one in jersey sales. If you can get a Wolf number 1 jersey, bruh, game over.
Done.
Kevin Durant, Houston Rockets jersey. Yeah, the kid's good. Second team, all Big Ten. Little development there yet, but he was a star at BYU, was a star at Michigan. Give him a shot. And his last name is Wolf. So if I was playing NBA 2K5, 100%, I'd draft him with whatever draft pick I've got. But the kid will be good, and he'll give some stability kind of in that Dante DiVincenzo role, and Dante can move up because I'm assuming Mike Conley's not going to be in the starting role. They've already said Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to get significant time in the rotation next year based on what he showed in the playoffs. You'd assume that Dillingham is going to get better this offseason as well. So those are the guys kind of moving into those roles, but you still need those guys to come off the bench, and Danny Wolf will be a good fit there, I think.
By the way, Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, and Terrence Shannon Jr. all confirmed they're playing Summer League for the Wolves this year.
Sweet.
What makes you feel less good about Dillingham? Them drafting a point guard or them picking one up or trading for a point guard, a veteran? What makes you feel less good about the Dillingham thing working out?
Drafting one. Because if they trade for one, it's, hey, we're in a win now mode. We got to go get a vet. Dillingham will earn his spot. He's got to work his way through. And, in 2 years, he'll be our starting point guard of the future, or in a year. If you draft somebody young to take, not like a guy who's 18 years old and he's going to develop, but if you draft a guy who is a 4-year starter, somebody who was like Dillingham, who's played multiple years in college to come in, that's things are looking a little rough for their trust in him, because they could always hide under the injury thing for why Dillingham had a slow year. But the Wolves also, it's the Mike Zimmer. I've seen him in practice every day. If the Wolves who see him in practice every day and see him going, we feel like we maybe need to take another crack at this. Let's draft another older player, older point guard who's got a lot of experience, who kind of can be a plug and play like Terrence Shannon Jr. was a little bit once he kind of got going. That would scare me more than just, hey, we need to go get a vet because this team is win now and we don't have time to wait for Terrence Shannon, or we don't have time to wait for Rob Dillingham to develop. We kind of have to hope that he does that kind of behind the scenes.
There are reasons he didn't play.
And it's not just all injury.
And then they're not just all injury.
And it's not just because of all the weird fans on Twitter who just don't like Chris Finch.
Right. I don't care what they do. The Wolf guy, I'm with Zeke. The Wolf guy sounds fun because his last name
Wolf, man.
I don't even know. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know who he played for. I just learned he's from the Big Ten. I know nothing about him. So go Wolves.
He's a 7-foot center. I thought he was a point guard, but he's actually a center. So
okay, good. Draft him too.
Wait, we got to deal with Zach Edey.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be buying Zach Edey stock right now.
Yeah, he's hurt. Didn't he have something bad happen to his legs or something?
Yeah, that
or his back. He's going to miss the start of the regular season.
Yeah, I think he got in trouble
Zach Edey.
Fred Flintstoning his car and was speeding on the highway, so he got himself. It's like he played Georgia football allegedly or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of things in that, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like the Wolves, it feels like the draft is not that it's it's important and you need to hit on these picks, but you're not necessarily. You already have your franchise defining players in Ant and Jaden and some other guys coming through. You just need to hit on guys who can fill roles and be developmental players. Because if you look, the Denver Nuggets look like a team that was going to run the league for a few years, and they drafted so poorly around Jokic that they're still good and they are still capable of making the playoffs every year and being a legit contender. But their spot of like being the 1 seed every year, like year in and year out, like just gone because they drafted so poorly since Tim Conley left. Weird. And so it's basically can you just keep a stockpile of young players around your team? So that way, when a Nickeil Alexander-Walker gets his free agency money, you say, Nickeil, it was fun. Enjoy being a Laker because we have Terrence Shannon Jr. who's going to come take your spot in the rotation.
That would suck.
That would hurt. Oklahoma City and Indiana were in the championship. Like, it's pretty clear. You have to draft well. There's just you have to have a superstar and you have to draft well and you have to have players under control. Oklahoma City is going to have a reckoning in a couple of years, just like Boston is going to have a reckoning going into this season. But for the time being, they're going to be just fine because they've drafted so well.
And the Wolves have a mini reckoning as well, right? Because they have to, they're going to need to figure out the contracts for Julius Randle. They're going to need to figure out contracts for Naz Reid. If he's going to opt out and become a free agent, or if he's going to opt in and re-sign, or if he's going to opt out and re-sign with the Wolves. Like, there are still kind of all options on the table. I think everybody kind of just assumes Naz is going to re-sign with the Wolves, but it's not a for sure thing, and there's still some dominoes that need to fall there. Julius Randle, again, he's going to opt into the Wolves contract, but do the Wolves extend him? Do the Wolves trade him? I just feel like Tim Conley, whether it was trading Karl Anthony Towns, obviously that was for salary relief, or whether it was trading for Rudy Gobert, Conley will take some big swings. So it's not out of the question that he takes another swing to try and shake up this roster, whether it's tonight, whether it's next week, or whether it's in September, a week before training camp. I feel like this Wolves roster, they're not just going to exactly run back pretty much the entirety of last year's team just without Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah, if there's one thing that we've learned that this organization doesn't do is run it back. They made the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago with Cat, and they traded Cat and brought in Big Jew and Dante. Then they made the conference finals again, and now it still wasn't enough. So what can they do to?
They were ready to trade everything for Kevin Durant. So.
Yeah, to get over the hump. Another thing to watch is Micah Nori is interviewing for the Knicks job. So
yes,
something else to pay attention to.
Yeah, did they ask Rick Carlisle if he was? They ask him?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Did they ask? Who haven't they asked yet? They've pretty much asked
everybody.
Asked every current NBA head coach. Do you think Phil Jackson would come back?
Not to the Knicks, no.
No, you don't think they try and work the triangle again?
I think that bridge has been burned.
That bridge may have been burned. Okay. Yeah. Do you think they try like Jeannie Buss when that ownership officially turns over?
Might as well.
Might as well.
She's got a ring on every finger, I think. So may as well.
May as well do. Or would that be weird with the whole Phil Jackson thing too?
Are they still dating? Are they still a thing? Or
this might be like the implication, you know?
Yeah. Don't want to start rumors here or anything, but
no, we are not. It's just we are not rumor starters. We are just misinformed. That's
we are rumor finishers. We
Uh,
turn rumors into facts.
I just say them louder and louder until people believe me.
Until our lawyers tell us to stop.
Uh-huh.
Put it on a t-shirt. MSD, rumors into facts.
I thought it was going to be epithets aren't, what was it, Corey?
Actionable. Epithets are not actionable.
That's MSD, epithets are not actionable. There we go. That escapes us from any legal liability. We'll see you guys next time.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.